All right. Test. We love beer.
Yay!
Right?
We do.
Cheers, everybody, before we start.
Cheers
Yeah.
to beers.
Absolutely.
Clinks. The guy that makes beer is not drinking beer. The only-
He has
I
enough.
told Dean that was going to happen.
yeah. Yeah,
like
you don't want to take
porn
your work home with you. Hey.
Porn stars don't go home and fuck. I mean,
Yep. So, Jay, so just interested, first of all, so how did you get into, you've been a master brewer for, you to say, over 10 years, right?
Yeah, so I've been in beer for almost a decade. It was fall of 2012 that I went out to California for my master's in food science, but the research was in beer. But I had started home brewing like any good engineering student. I was 21, I had an engineering degree, and I was bored. So let's make beer. And came across a book by a professor, and it kind of went from there to where I could go to school for brewing and beer. At that time, there were only 2 programs in the country where I went, UC Davis, which is right outside Sacramento, and Oregon State. And the Oregon State program was run by a graduate of UC Davis. So it kind of led it to there. Now you could go, there's certificates at community colleges, there's a bunch of
you
other
can just do a
4-year
TED
programs.
Talk and be fine.
Yeah, there's a ton of ways to go about it. So I mean, the industry, while I'm young, clearly, I am very, very old in the industry. When I went to school, there were 2,000 breweries in the U.S. We are well over 9,000 breweries right now.
Yeah.
Has definitely
I'm just thinking
exploded. I mean, being the same age as you. I mean, when you were going to college and stuff. I mean, around that time. I mean, the craft brewing scene there was nothing compared to what it is now. I mean, there really was.
No, absolutely.
You had your big brewers and things like that.
Even look 10 years ago.
Yeah,
exactly.
No.
I was thinking that. Yeah, just in the so we're in the Akron area, as most people know who've listened to the show. We're in Northeast Ohio, Akron area. Yeah, 10 years ago. I mean, we had maybe.
Thirsty Dog.
Yeah,
maybe
Thirsty Dog, Great Lakes, maybe, stuff like that
Frog
around.
Maybe was around.
Actually, to show an example, is this year will be our 10th anniversary for Nick and I have a beer tasting party we do every year, and we started it because Nick and I enjoyed craft beer, but like all the other friends, didn't, because they didn't get a chance to taste it. They drink Bud Light or Miller Lite. So we thought, let's get a party where everybody could try all these different craft beers. That was what this was born out of. So 10 years later, now, you bring all the craft beer, but like everybody has it all the time.
We were essentially an annual backyard tap house. That's what it was. That's what it was.
So again, Jason, so 10 years ago, so what got you into it? Just something, was it just the idea of be able to create something on your own, or what got, was it just like, I'm bored, like you say, I just want to try to see if this works? Or
So I've always loved all science. So, I went to engineering, but I loved the chemistry, I loved the microbiology, I loved the biology. I just loved science. It was fun, it's interesting. Being able to make something and have someone enjoy it, the kind of instant gratification of it. It's also fun. Will I be in beer next week, next year? I don't know. I could probably be just as happy making cheese, chocolate, wine, spirits. But I kind of fell backwards into beer. That was my opportunity to go to a program that, the professor I went to work for is world known. I still had no idea what I was walking into when I went there. And it's kind of gotten me pretty far in the industry. As for then, I was 21, and it's like, let's make craft beer. It's growing, it's fun, and people enjoy it. And it's kind of just stuck. There's a lot of people that, oh my God, I've wanted to get into beer for 10 years. I never had that. The good and bad side of it is I like it. It's fun. But it's not the full pressure of having to live up to the dreams of everything.
Yeah, there's got to be a lot of freedom that goes along with that, and you probably get to be pretty adventurous with what you
creativity.
Do. You know what I mean? You don't have to stick to a formula or make what people are expecting, because in craft breweries typically you can kind of go off the board a little bit and try things.
Yes and no. So my background is I'm not normal for craft beer, right? My background is engineering, which is, let's figure out how to make this better. Let's figure out how to make it more efficient. Let's figure out how to make, and I don't want to say cheaper, but efficiency, right? You want to be able to turn out more product. So that's my background. While yes, it's fun designing a new recipe, my favorite thing is brewing that recipe a third and a fourth time, and what can I do to make this better, right? Especially when you're talking about customers, they want better. They want new, but they only want new from a place they trust is good. So you still have to show that consistency across everything, even if it is not the same product. So for me, it's about that consistency and just being better every time you do
it. So since you guys have the question, do any of you have what we were coining outside of this as Ask the Brewer? Do any of you have any questions written down? Or in the top of your head? Because I know Nick ain't fucking doing any sort of prep. So, Brian, do you have anything written down?
I already know what things are in my head that I want to ask. I need to write down.
Well,
Jason,
I'll answer
and I
for
are
you.
young. We're not going to forget. I know what I need to ask.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was going to say,
Brian, you had to write it down. Go ahead, buddy.
I had a couple. I do want to add, but like Jason mentioned, the idea of trying to create something that people enjoy. That is our goal. We haven't achieved that goal yet on this podcast.
And the thing is, we're not even trying to perfect it like Jason is.
No.
Yeah. Well, some of us are, but that's I'm kidding.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm kidding. Actually, I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. But yes, I get the feel. No, but so a lot of people go to breweries. They see the big vats. Maybe they have an idea. Can you just give us the basics of how does one make beer? What happens? So how does it end up in this? Go ahead.
I would like to piggytail that with
piggytail.
That's not a thing. After the second it left my piggyback is what I meant to say.
Piggytail. That's a new
the second it left my lips, I was like, that didn't feel right. Yeah, it didn't, and it's not. So unlike Dean, I will admit when I'm wrong. I will admit when I'm wrong. Piggytail is incorrect. So. I want to piggyback on top of, as you're going through this, Jason, and you're laying out the process of brewing. I also want you to tell me what to you is the most tedious part of brewing, or your least favorite. But go ahead. But yeah,
good. Yeah.
We'll start with that. My least favorite is making any beer that is like 9-10%. So the brewing process starts with a bunch of malted barley. And the more alcoholic the beer, the more grain you need. So your 9% beer, I need to lift and move 300, 400 pounds of grain. Where your 4% beer, I only have to move like 150 pounds. So my favorite thing to do is brew small beers.
Makes sense.
Purely selfish. No, so the brewing process, like I said, you start with malted barley. You can use wheat, you can use oats, any grain that has starch. You can the first part of the brewing process is you're taking the starch and you're turning it into sugar. That is what makes brewing unique, right? So wine comes from grapes. The sugar is there. Cider, apples. So for beer, we actually have to make the sugar solution. That is what we call a brewing day. So that takes about 7 hours, and you're working over boiling kettles, and you're steeping the grain in water, and then separating the sugar out, and then boiling it. That is where also you add hops, you add certain flavorings if you want. And then, like I said, that takes about 5 to 7 hours. You cool it off and you put it in a tank. From that point forward, fermentation is the same, no matter what product you're talking about. Whether it's yogurt, whether it's chocolate, whether it's wine, it's the same process. There's microbes that eat the sugar and produce alcohol and CO2 for the sake of alcoholic drinks. That process can take anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. Wine, it takes a lot longer. But for beer, from start to finish, 2 to 4 weeks. That's all it takes. And then when the fermentation is done, you cool it down to almost below freezing to help clear it out. Another big change in the last decade. I went to school. Clear beer was it. If you were a bad brewer if you made hazy beer. And now if I say that, everyone looks at me like I'm insane because every brewery is hazy. Right? Yeah. It's different. It still hurts me a little bit to do it, but it's one of those things that I know it's a style and it sells. So, all right, we're doing it. Yeah. And from that, then in the tank is where it's best to store it. There are 3 things that are bad for beer: light, heat, and oxygen. So, when you buy that 6-pack, take it out of the cooler. Keep it in the cooler. Green bottles, white bottles, bad. Very bad, right? Yeah. The industry's changing the cans because no light can get through it. It's also lighter. But that's the quick and dirty side of it. As Dean said, I try to educate as we go. I love giving him the information that he needs to go out and about. I know it's more than he will ever need and more than he will ever remember. But that's kind of my job, is to inform and try to give as much information as possible.
Nice, I did do, when I first started, I got to do a brewing day with him. And, he'd gone over all that and much more and he, each process, each step. Again, I don't know how much retained, but there was a lot given in. It was very interesting. I had a great time. So, yeah, it was very cool to watch it all. And I got to help. Granted, he made me do that heavy lifting he was talking about.
Sure.
I was pouring up the best part of having someone there.
Right. And I was pouring the grains in there.
Yeah.
Nick,
Lift
do you have
that
a question?
bag, you cretin.
I do have a question, but this one's more of a personal question. So I'm just curious. You've been in the craft beer industry for a long time. You've worked at many different places, and you enjoy a lot of different craft beers. As you mentioned earlier, being in school, you've tried a lot of different beers. You've lived different places. What is your go-to, if you got to go down to basics, what is your go-to domestic beer? Do you have a go-to domestic beer? Yes.
And I'll tell you right now, every brewer does. And mine is Banquet. Coors Banquet, stubby bottle, all day, every day.
Okay.
Coors Banquet. My bachelor party was a month ago. We had racks of the stubby bottle.
How about that?
It's also personal. Once you get inside the industry, as you do with most things, you're kind of framed by what you hear in the industry or experiences. Coors, for the most part, is a really good company. It's still family owned. They try to take care of their employees from my friends that have worked there. I have a contact that is really high up in the company. I showed up and he took me on a 4.5-hour tour of the facility. Cool. So I have, again, it's the personal connection to it, and even, Budweiser, the other guys, from an engineering and brewing standpoint, it's unbelievable. And talking to their brewers, talking to their employees is a blast. Where you get into the hairy area is what they do with their marketing, what they do with their sales, and what they do with the lobbying in the government. Which again, with all big companies, it's to protect their interests. So like once you're in it, you can understand it. But from my side, I have that personal connection and I like the company, but also that's the one light beer that I've always liked.
Nice. Very good. Yeah, it is also the preferred beer of Big and Little Enos Burdett, I understand. It's a Smokey the Bandit reference, but that's okay. That's okay.
That's a little before my time.
All the crickets you put into my fucking jokes, you better put on crickets on that one.
Yep.
You prick. Okay. All right. So I got a question.
Go ahead.
All right. So you have like, pretty basic, but you have like with your porters and your stouts and your Kolsch, all the different types of beers that are able to be brewed and whatever temperatures you're needing to get because each one is different, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately what it comes down to, for the show Convincing Idiots, who is your favorite idiot?
Nick, no question. He's my age.
Hey!
There you go.
Good choice.
I also don't have to work with him.
That's true.
Nice.
I think I'd make a great brew pal. I would load all the stuff in that fucking bag.
You know what? I tell everyone, anyone can brew if you can follow directions.
Yeah.
So I read menus now, beer menus, Chase. I see all these terms on there. So ABV, IBU. Let's talk about those two for a second. What in the hell are those? Let's start. Yeah.
So ABV is just alcohol. That's your alcohol. Okay. It's alcohol by volume. So it's how we regulate it, how we measure all alcohol in the U.S. Why we do it by volume instead of weight, I don't know. The scientist in me goes crazy on that. But that's how we measure it. When you get into liquors and spirits, they use proof. All that is multiply ABV by 2 or divide it in half, and that's your ABV.
Okay.
And then IBU is another made-up term. It's International Bittering Unit. And it is taking a sample of beer and running it through a machine called a spectrophotometer, and it just gives a reading, and more or less it actually has no scientific meaning other than the higher it is, the more bitter it is. And people have learned that, over 50 is like IPA bitter, and stouts are in the 30s, and ambers are in the 20s. And so it's kind of gone from there. In scientific terms, it's kind of a made-up number, just so that people have a scale of bitterness when they were making the beer.
Okay, so the higher the number, the more bitter it is. So your IPAs will have a higher IBU than, like you say, like a lager or something
the same as this. That's actually the same as this podcast. The higher the age, the more bitter it becomes.
Sure,
that's why Jason and I are so carefree.
That's right. Yep.
I've tasted Brian. This is spot on.
Yep. Very bitter. Very bitter. Okay.
So I'm going to turn it around and ask all of you,
sure.
What's your favorite beer? What's your favorite brewery? What's your favorite beer? What's your, is there a style you guys like?
Yeah, I like stouts. So it's funny. I've noticed myself progressing over the years. Immediately when I first had craft beers and things like that, I was drawn to the dark beers. I like stouts and I like porters, and I still very much do. But now it's a little more seasonal.
Who doesn't like porters?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
That name is not that name just works. It was not planned anyway.
But I like. Typically, I like darker beers now in the fall and winter months, but what I like about a lot of IPAs is that I feel like a lot of breweries at least get a little more adventurous with IPAs. I feel like maybe you have more freedom. You tend to see a lot of people stick with, with darker beers. You got your chocolates and your peanut butters and your coffees, and which is all good things. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of those things. But in a lot of IPAs, I see people using a lot of, different flavors, being a little more adventurous with the things that they put in them. So, and as in the last couple of years, I've become partial to sours. I never really used to like sours, but I like them now. I definitely, I enjoy Ignite. One of my favorite beers I've ever had from Ignite was, we went to trivia there, was it last summer one night, and it was what was it, Working the Gimmick or something like that? It was a pineapple IPA. I really liked that a lot. I liked it a lot.
I hated that beer.
Did you? Was it difficult?
It was, yes, it was very difficult, and we had it may have shot hops all over the entire brewery and led to a 2-day cleaning, and that was less than fun to make.
I think Mike may have said that one time, because I think I brought that beer up to him one time when we spoke to him, and I think there might have been a story similar to that.
Yeah.
So, but that was one of my favorites I've ever had from there. I go to Magic City Brewing Company locally here a lot. I like them a lot. They've probably one of my favorite beers ever is their Christmas beer. It's called Aunt Marge's Xmas Sleigh, which is based off of a maple nut roll that's in their family, and it's just delicious and really different. And then Madcap Brewing in Kent, I like their beers a lot. But even when I first started drinking craft beer, I was a big Thirsty Dog fan, and Siberian Night was one of my first loves, really, when it came to craft beers in general. So for a long time, that was like my very favorite. But
just because I'm curious, and you're my age, what was your first IPA?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know if I remember like what the first one was.
I just know because that time frame, most people in the region, it was Bell's Two Hearted. And so like for me, I love Bell's because of the memories that come from that.
I just had one at the House of Blues in Cleveland a couple weeks ago. My wife and I went to see Simple Plan and Sum 41, and we went to go. And they had that. Yeah, they had that at the. I was like, I'll take a 2 Hearted Ale. Yeah, that's good. It's always, can't go wrong.
Nice.
Yeah.
Brian, those are 2 rock bands from like the early 2000s.
Thank you.
From our youth. I will say, I now get when like Poison and Motley Crue go on tour together and Brian gets all excited. That's what happened that night. I was like, this is that. Like for now.
I've been waiting 2.5 years for the concert in 2 weeks. Motion City soundtrack.
Oh, nice. Are you going?
Yes, it's the 17 year of Commit This to Memory, and I'm just like, oof.
Yeah, wow, 17, really? Yeah, I guess so. Yes. That makes sense. You forget. Okay, so this is I'm sorry, we'll go around the table with the favorite beers, but real quick, I talk about this
what we're here for.
Jason, how old do you feel? Like in your mind when you think of like what time frame it is and how like
he's just so happy to have somebody his own age.
Yeah,
it's like a play
They always
date.
talk about shit from the 70s and the 80s, and I don't know what they're talking about. But like, yeah, no, but like I would say, like
Brian
I feel
and I have
23
our arms around each other, going, "Oh, he found a friend."
It's for me, it's a weird mix. Like, yeah, obviously, I'm still feeling like I'm in my 20s, but then also like, most of my friends are married and have kids, so like I'm the young one. I'm in the brewing industry. I'm going out and drinking and trips, and so I still am young compared to half of the people that I'm hanging out with.
Sure, yeah.
But it's been that's an interesting one. It's been, I don't know. I try not to think about it too much. I say my fiance is 6.5 years younger than me, so that keeps me young too.
Okay. Nice.
I'd make a joke if I could do math and figure out how old she is.
Well, that's what I'm doing for Dean's sister, because I'm 6 years younger than her, so I like to think I'm keeping her young.
Well, she's an old broad, so.
So anyway,
it's like when you buy a puppy with an older dog, and it keeps the older dog youthful. That's what you did for Robin.
my tail's always wagging, and she just wants me to leave her alone. But it's just I'm so persistent. I never stop, and it's just like yeah.
She's got those weird brown marks under her eyes where the fur is just weathered away.
Just let them finish. Yeah. So, Dean, what is your favorite type of
favorite beers? Yes.
Well, I mean, if we're going to be completely honest, Ignite Brewery is the best.
You forgot the wink.
So like a Pilsner or an A, that type of stuff.
I am 100% a stout man. My first...
Easy on the man part, Jesus. Stout, it's okay. All right. You get it. You like.
I don't know what this whole man Jesus thing you're talking about, but I am a stout guy. I started kind of in the deal before, the whole craft brewery craze. I'd gotten into Guinness. Guinness is my favorite stout of all time. So starting from there, obviously I enjoy porters and stouts. I do not do IPAs. I am learning now, since working at the brewery, and I'm now trying different ones. Can you say that like you not grow accustomed to them, but you not even tolerate? Like I do find ones that I enjoy.
I mean, that's just one of the things I ask of you, and I ask of the sales and the taproom staff is, look, I don't need you to love the beer. I just need you to A, be able to sell it, and B, tell me if there's something wrong with it, right?
Right.
And that's where you can appreciate a certain style.
There's the word.
You can appreciate a certain style if you don't love it. Like, I cannot stand bananas. I don't like Hefeweizens. I need to know how to make a good one. I need to know how to judge it, right? And so there's the kind of, once you get in, it's the taking the step back and taking the personal feelings out of it.
Sure. And that's what I'm able to do now with IPAs is I can appreciate them, and I now am being able to. I'm getting there to where I'm able to say, what's wrong with this one, or what I like about this one, what I don't like about this one. So, but yeah, my, and I made the joke about Ignite, but I've been going to Ignite since they were building the inside of the building. It had always been a fucking building, but since they went in and started renovating, I've known Michael since we were in middle school. So I've been there from the beginning, and I really do love their beer. I love the company. But yeah, Nick's right. I've gone to many different breweries. Magic City. I enjoy their what was the one, Nick? The Mexican mosh pit.
Yeah, I was saying Mexican mosh pit. I know you liked a lot.
It's that stout with jalapeno peppers or whatnot.
Yeah, it's like spicy. Yeah, like a kick to it.
Nice.
Spice to it. Yeah.
I enjoy. What was the one over? Not acronym. Is it acronym?
Acronym's in downtown.
Yeah, downtown Akron.
Yeah.
Lock 15. Lock 15 is good.
Lock 15.
And they got good food, so that helps too.
Yeah, their food's good. You better like spicy stuff, but yes, they make good food.
Right. But yeah, so yeah.
Dean, I have an IPA, by the way, and this will kind of tie into that. I forgot to mention one of my favorite breweries that I've never been to, but it is on my list next time I go up north.
Okay.
Flying Monkeys Brewery. Everything I've ever had from Flying Monkeys in Barrie, Ontario is incredible. And Dean, if you don't like IPAs, you should try Juicy Ass IPA. It's probably my favorite IPA I've ever had. And that's a good one. I'd like you to try. I don't know if you'll like it or not, but it's my favorite, so I would send you in that direction.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. One last one that I have not had because I'm unable to have it. But I was at a brewery a couple of years ago, and I saw this scarf on the wall that said Harvey. I don't know if it doesn't really say all that, but that's my last name. So, I asked the bartender. I said, is that a thing you guys are? They said, no, it's a brewery in England and it's Sussex, I believe. So I started following them. You can't get shit shipped over here because I tried.
No.
But some of their stuff looks really cool, sounds really cool. So I'm one of my goals is to get over to Harvey Brewery in Sussex, England, and try their stuff.
That'd be cool.
Or at the very least, get some of their swag shipped here. So, if you're listening, Harvey Brewery,
of course they are. Why wouldn't they be over in Sussex, England?
Right.
In the UK, of course.
Unless I'm wrong in the city and I just sound like an asshole. Then they're like, oh, fuck.
What about you, Brian? What are some of your favorite beers? Types, breweries, all that good stuff.
Well, I'll just add to Dean, if you just work on making this podcast more fucking entertaining, maybe you get some money to get over there. So
let's small goals, Brian. Small goals.
Baby steps.
Yeah, come on.
I like the lighter stuff. I like
Nick to at least show up every week and then start from there.
I mean, for me, I like stouts and porters on occasion. It's not my go-to. I mean, it's definitely more like in the winter months when the heavier beers. I have the palates change a little bit. I'm more of a lagers, pilsners type stuff typically. My favorite beer is Conway's Irish Irish Ale from Great Lakes. When that comes out every spring around the March period, that's about the only beer I'll buy. If they made it all year long, I would drink it all year long. It's one of the smoothest beers I've ever had. I mean, locally, I do enjoy Ignite a lot. They have a nice variety. Certainly, I so many of these craft breweries,
goddamn sexy.
Sure, no, but
so many accommodating too.
So many of these breweries are. It's like
wait till it gets back into a corner.
It's like if you have 10 beers, 8 of them are IPAs. I feel like with a lot of these craft breweries around here, And I'm not an IPA person myself. A little bit too bitter for me. Once in a while, if it's not as harsh, but
Did you say IPA?
He did.
Yeah, there's IPA. Yeah.
So, you ever ask somebody, if I'm bored, can you turn on the TV?
See, this is not helping you get to England to visit the Harvey Brewing Company. You know what I mean?
Brian was legitimately planning on sending you to England out of the goodness of his heart, and it's gone now. He's like, all the
podcast proceeds we're gonna send you go over there. Not a one-way ticket.
23 cents.
Enjoy
your $7.48. I hope your trip to England goes well.
Yeah. So actually, on that note, what's the difference, Jason, between a lager and a pilsner?
So a pilsner is a lager. So when you're talking about beer, and it comes from the type of yeast that ferments it, there are 2 types. There's an ale yeast and a lager yeast. A pilsner is a specific style of a lager. It's light, usually has some floral, grassy hops in it, but it's just a light lager. That's the quick difference.
Very good.
Okay. Good. That's a great question, by the way. If you I don't fucking know. They're different. It's just because it says it's different. They're different. Like whatever.
A lot of different letters in the word.
Yeah, they make a different. It's different letters that make a different word. Duh. Science. Spelling.
A lot of people that like lagers might not like pilsners because there is that little bit more hops, a light bitterness that general lagers don't have. So that's where someone might be like, I like lagers, I don't like pilsners. That typically is where it's coming from. But yeah.
Good. Yes. I question too. So does anybody out there? I got a kit once for a Christmas gift, and I dabbled with it. It was terrible, horrible. But for me, I just So if anybody out there, or even ourselves, if somebody's interested, I want to get into brew. I want to just try something on my own at home. What do you recommend? What should they do? Should they buy a kit? Should they go somewhere particular? What do they need? What equipment do they need? What do they do?
Yeah, just like recreationally.
I haven't looked at the homebrewing stuff in a while, and I mean, you could go up to spending thousands and thousands of dollars. But I had a buddy in California that made amazing beer out of plastic buckets. You know, the easiest thing to do is you buy an igloo cooler, and you can buy a false bottom. It's this little like an inverted strainer that sits on the bottom of it, and you can mash, which is steeping the grain in the water, and then separating it out, and then just turkey fryer and boil it. I mean, I still have it downstairs from when I started on that. You know, and you can make good beer out of it. The biggest thing is temperature control on the fermentation. So that's where it's like, you see people buy the freezer and put the temperature controller to hold it at the right temperature. That would really step it up. But I mean, you don't have to. If you have a basement in Northeast Ohio, like mine downstairs stays 65, that's close enough to the right temperature that you can turn out good beer sitting it down there. You know, and there's tons of how-to books, YouTube. There's, I mean, I started with a book by, who was it? By John Palmer called How to Brew. I think he's on like 4th or 5th edition at this point. But a lot of us in the industry started on that one. But, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's half of the fun, and this was what it was in California too when we were there. We brewed every Sunday. Well, if you're making 5 gallons a week, you gotta get rid of 5 gallons a week.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
And so, and that's honestly why I don't even homebrew anymore. Not because I get to do it at work, but it's more of like, I don't know what to do with 5 gallons of beer.
Yeah.
Like between that and you know, as you guys have seen, like I like everything else on top of beer, you know.
Sure.
You guys were talking about, I was asking about your favorite beers. Like I have my favorite beers, but I'll go weeks without beer because I love wine. I like gin. I like whiskey, you know, and you just kind of rotate through. And if you're having one drink a day, go through a bottle of something over 2 weeks and then move on to the next thing, you know? But yeah, you know,
2 weeks. Pick up your fucking game, dude.
If you're talking a bottle of bourbon or something,
yeah,
you know,
he's got a wedding to plan. All right, he's got shit to do.
Yeah.
Which should mean he's drinking more.
That's valid. That's valid.
But you know, from a craft beer standpoint, you know, my favorites are Sierra Nevada is the king. It's been the king. It's always the king. They've been amazing to the industry.
That might have been my first IPA.
What's pale ale?
Yeah. Is that the green label?
Yeah, pale ale or torpedo. Torpedo is the IPA.
That might have been my first IPA. Okay. When you said it, I'm like, that might have been the first one.
Yeah, they're amazing. You know, and then you know, I love Bell's. The guy that hired me for my internship in St. Louis is now the head of quality up there. You know, so I love Bell's. My favorite thing is just go and you try. You know, I love when I travel. It's just let's hit up coffee shop, let's hit up, you know, brewery, and then onto distilleries and keep going. You know, so some of the best. Dean was saying Guinness. I won't drink Guinness here in the U.S. And I thought it was crazy when everyone said go to Ireland because it tastes amazing.
I do want to do that.
From a Brew Master, go to Ireland and taste it because holy crap, is it so much better. It is amazing just to sit there and do it, to drink it there. You know, and then locally, I'm more about the vibe. So I don't know if you guys make it down into Cleveland, downtown a lot. Noble Beast is amazing. They make really good beer, but the atmosphere is cool. I like the more low key. You know, I like going into Masthead. They make good beer and the pizza's good, but it can get really crowded and loud, and that's not my favorite thing anymore.
So I think that's one thing on this, like say here, like on tonight's podcast, is what we can say is, yes, you guys are 34 years old. I'm 42. Brian's, like, I don't know, 83. But all of us can agree that we're past like the loud banging bar scene.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many good options, and I just love talking about it with people because everyone has different opinions. Everyone likes different things. At this point, it's why I have such a huge variety and why I take pride in the fact that we don't have 15 IPAs. We have 4 out of 16 beers on tap. It's to appease everyone, but also I'll drink IPAs for the spring where we're starting to hit the point where I won't touch them. I just want lager. I just want the sour. I know a lot of people are that way as well.
Yeah.
Not to, do another promotion for Ignite, but today before I left, I had the Kolsch there. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Kolsch Courage, Ignite Courage.
Yeah, Ignite Courage. I had that today. That was damn fine.
Yeah.
Damn fine. Nice job,
damn fine.
Well
that was not
done,
me.
Sir.
There are other brewers.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
there are 2 brewers. That was his.
And a fun little trivia fact for the brewers at Ignite Brewery. There is Jason Porter, and the other gentleman's name is Nick Law. So we had come up with a fine joke, and it works, is you now have Law and Porter. Dong dong.
All right, that's pretty good. I'll give you that. That's pretty good.
That'll turn into a beer name probably.
Yeah.
Lawn Porter. I like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like an 80s movie.
Sure.
Or series or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen, it is getting past 11. It's getting kind of late.
Mm-hmm.
Any final questions, thoughts, commentary, anything at all on
I just want
beer
to applaud.
or anything for Jason?
I want to applaud Jason. This is comments. I want to applaud Jason on the fine work that he does. I want to applaud him on coming on the show, and I want to applaud him for putting up with working with Dean. So all around, thank you, Jason. We applaud you. Nice job. You're stronger than any of us. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Fucking Labradoodle's stronger than you.
Dude, Labradoodles get fucking big. Of course they are. Like, they get big.
Yeah, if you're rubbing that certain spot.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is what I do every week, Jason. See that? That's why I drink.
This is why I drink.
No, but
that because all the years prior to it, you just have to maintain at this point that your liver's expecting it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, so I think it's fascinating and great for you that you had a passion for something. You're able to pursue it, study it, and make a living from it. So I think that's awesome. So and we're not Ignite's not a sponsor of the show, but I go to Ignite. I love the like I said, the atmosphere and the vibe. It's definitely one thing that takes me there without question. But one thing is the beer. And the beer, great options there. That's terrific. There's always something there I like. It's not something that's like, did you go to that brewery? Yeah, it was okay. It was, no, they have, Ignite has many solid, great beers, and the kitchen there now is terrific. So I was there with some friends.
I look forward to trying that. I haven't had that.
I was with some friends
she does a fantastic
weekend.
job.
Yeah, last weekend for the first time, and this couple was like raving. It was their first time there.
The beef
Everything
sandwich.
was great. Good.
No, I was asking you, Brian. You had that beef sandwich. It was on a pretzel bun.
I haven't had the food yet, but
you'll like that.
It looks terrific. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. It out. So, so great job, man. So keep up the great work and much continued much success to you, and
absolutely.
And we wish you the very best.
Congratulations to you and the bride to be.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And obviously, I fully expect that you will promptly fire whomever is officiating your wedding after this episode.
Well, duh.
And I will be named the officiant immediately, and we'll get to work right away. I will work for beer. literally.
We'll see. We'll see if I can get that through.
Okay. All right. We'll talk after the show. So.
And I would like to say, I mean, I work to see you every day, but I would like to say thank you for coming on. I appreciate this.
Yeah.
Your knowledge and your nerddom fit well. We had a great time. I appreciate you. Thank you for all you do. Again, it goes without saying, the beer, is fantastic. But I appreciate you as a coworker and that you'd come on here.
Absolutely.
We take a few points off that Nick's your favorite, but whatever. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect.
He's a man of reason. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, you're not wrong with that.
Yes, we do very much appreciate you taking the time to be here with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever, because I assume, gentlemen, that we're going to head out here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't know if you've ever listened to this show. If you've ever listened to the end, but Nick is wonderful with voices and impressions. So if you have any voice or an impression that you'd like to do the outro,
I will give it my best effort if you have
he'll
one.
Give it his best, or he'll just make shit up and it sounds German at the end.
I was just saying, make something up.
What was the one? No, what did I do? There was one time. One turned into Borat. It was Russian, and then it was Borat.
Greedo.
Oh yeah, they asked. Okay, so you're a Star Wars fan. You're familiar with Greedo from the Cantina scene. They said, I said, if you can tell me what species Greedo is, I will do the outro in Greedo. And Dean knew it.
Did.
Of course.
So then
just like I
had
knew Order
to
66.
either pretend to do the outro in a made-up language that I'm not familiar with, or do what I would, represent Greedo as. And apparently it turned into Russian, and then it just got Borat at the end. So it just kind of went into a whole different thing. So, yeah.
So Nick, are you familiar with Smokey and the Bandit? Have you ever seen that movie?
I have no idea. I've heard that.
Oh, are you going to do?
I've heard you say. I've heard you say Smokey and the Bandit a couple times.
Oh, that would be so. Oh, you know what? Here, I will give you. I'll give you the equivalent.
Does the sheriff sound like Harry Carey?
No, no. He is a. Just picture a southern sheriff.
A southern sheriff.
Yeah.
All right.
I think you can get that.
Okay.
All right.
Well. Okay.
So, but again, before he does this, again, Jason, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on.
Nah. We've all done the pleasantries here now, Mr. Dean. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you, Zennials, right? If you haven't already, please be sure to go ahead and find yourself to a computer machine. And once you get there, you're going to go ahead and you're going to type into your Google engine, Convincing Idiots link tree. That's LINKTREE, okay? And see from there, you pretend right here I got my cup of toothpick.
Doing Foghorn Leghorn.
I'll say. Now what you're gonna do here now, Sonny, is you're gonna go over there now. Make sure you go to the Google Convincing Idiots link tree, okay? Now I tell you there you're gonna find all the links to all the social medias, okay? The Facebook, Sonny, that's gonna be there. The YouTube link, okay? All right, and also TikTok. Yes, we are on TikTok. We are on Twitter. We are everywhere, okay? You go there, you like, you subscribe, you rate, you review, okay? And then you're gonna go on the World Wide Web. Don't forget the dot, Convincing Idiots, and then another dot, WordPress.com. And there you will find us. So for this episode of Convincing Idiots, I am your friendly neighborhood millennial. My name is Nicholas.
I am your Zennial Dean.
There ain't no way you came from my loins.
Is that what he sounds like?
Yep.
Okay.
Gen X Brian.
And Jason, now you say yours. Who you are.
I got nothing. I make beer.
He's the
I'm
Brew
Jason.
Master, Jason Porter, baby. The Brew Master.
The Brew Master, Jason Porter.
That's right.
I don't know why I went Casey Kasem. Brew Master, Jason Porter. Coming to you live.
That's right. So, for this episode of Convincing Idiots, have we convinced you to go and try some of your favorite beers today? Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, did you like that video? You know you did, and we know you did. So stop screwing around and go like that video, subscribe to our channel, and join us for some more.